My late husband's sister demanded I give her my memorial necklace made from our wedding rings because I'm getting remarried and she says it belongs with his real family now. Later she admitted she has been obsessed with taking it from me for months. I got married when I was 23 years old. My husband was 24. We had been together since we were 16 and 17. Everyone who knew us said we were meant to be together. His parents treated me like their own daughter from the moment we started dating. His younger sister Kenzie, now 31F, became like a real sister to me. We spent holidays together, went on family trips, and I was there for every major moment in their lives. My husband and I got married in a small ceremony with just close family and friends. We had been saving up for a house and wanted to put our money toward that instead of a big wedding. The ceremony was perfect. Simple but perfect. We were planning to start trying for kids once we bought the house. Everything was planned out. We had our whole lives mapped ahead of us. 7 months after our wedding, my husband died. A driver ran a red light after drinking at a bar. My husband was on his way home from work. The collision happened at an intersection 3 blocks from our apartment. He died at the scene. The police came to our door that night. I remember opening the door and seeing their faces. One of them asked if they could come inside. I knew something was wrong but my brain could not process what they were about to tell me. The months after that are blurry. My mom moved in with me for 6 weeks because I could not take care of myself. I stopped eating. I stopped showering. I would wake up and forget for a split second that he was gone and then reality would crash back. My best friend Qley, 30F, came over every single day. She would sit with me even when I did not talk. She made sure I ate something even if it was just crackers. Without my mom and Qley I do not think I would have made it through that time. The trial for the drunk driver took almost a year. My husband's parents and Kenzie and I attended every single court date. We sat together in that courtroom listening to lawyers talk about my husband like he was just a case number. The driver got 8 years. It felt like nothing. How do you put a price on a life? How do you quantify the loss of someone's future? But there was nothing we could do except accept the ruling and try to find a way to keep living. After the trial ended, something shifted. My former mother-in-law stopped returning my calls. My former father-in-law sent me a short email saying they needed space. Kenzie told me over coffee one day that seeing me reminded them too much of their son. She said it was too painful for them. She was crying when she told me. I understood on some level but it still hurt. These people had been my family for 8 years. They had been at my wedding. They had held me while I cried at the funeral. And then they just disappeared from my life. Kenzie tried to stay in touch. We would meet up a few times a year for birthdays or holidays. Sometimes we would grab dinner or drinks. But it was never the same. There was always this wall between us. This thing we could not talk about even though it was the biggest thing in both our lives. About a year after my husband died, I decided to take off my wedding rings. I had been wearing them every day since the funeral. But I reached a point where I knew I needed to take them off. Not because I was ready to move on or because I had stopped loving him. I just knew that wearing them was keeping me stuck in a place I could not stay forever. I did not want to just put the rings in a box somewhere. That felt wrong. So I took both rings to a jeweler. My ring and his ring. I also brought a small emerald ring that my husband had bought me on a trip we took to Ireland 2 years before he died. It was not expensive but it meant something to both of us. We had found it at a tiny shop in Dublin. The emerald was small and the gold was thin but we had laughed about how it looked like a fairy ring. I asked the jeweler to melt down all the gold from the 3 rings and use the emerald and the diamonds from my wedding ring to make 2 new pieces. A pendant necklace and a pair of small stud earrings. The jeweler did beautiful work. The pendant is simple. Just a small gold circle with the emerald set in the center and tiny diamonds around it. The earrings match. They are not fancy or expensive. No one would look at them and think they were valuable. But to me they are everything. They are a piece of my husband that I can carry with me every day without feeling like I am frozen in the past. I have worn that necklace every single day for the last 3 years. It sits right below my collarbone. I touch it sometimes without thinking. It reminds me that he existed. That our love was real. That I had that time with him even if it was cut short. 2 years ago I met someone. His name is Tristan, 36M. We met through mutual friends at a barbecue. I was not looking for anything. I had convinced myself I would probably be alone for the rest of my life and I was okay with that. But Tristan was kind. He was patient. He never pushed me to talk about my past before I was ready. When I finally told him about my husband, he listened. He did not try to compare or compete. He just acknowledged that I had loved someone deeply and that person was gone. Tristan and I have been together for almost 2 years now. Last month he proposed. We were on a hiking trail near the coast. It was not elaborate or showy. He just stopped walking, turned to me, and asked if I would marry him. I said yes. I said yes because I love him. Because he makes me laugh. Because he has shown me that it is possible to build something new without erasing what came before. Tristan knows about the necklace. He knows what it means. He has never once asked me to take it off or put it away. He understands that my love for my late husband and my love for him are 2 separate things. They do not cancel each other out. He told me once that he admires the fact that I can still love and be open to the world after everything I went through. That meant more to me than I can explain. Last Saturday, Kenzie texted me and asked if I wanted to meet for drinks. I said yes. We met at a bar downtown. It was nice at first. We caught up on work and life. She asked about Tristan and the engagement. I showed her my ring. She smiled and said congratulations. Then she ordered another round of drinks and the conversation shifted. Kenzie looked at my necklace. She had seen it before but never said anything about it. This time she asked about it. I told her what it was. I explained how I had the rings melted down to make the pendant and earrings. I thought she would understand. I thought maybe it would even mean something to her to know that I still carried a piece of her brother with me. Instead, she got quiet for a moment. Then she said she wanted the necklace. Just like that. She said it outright. She said the necklace should be with her because she was his sister. She said it would mean more to her than it could ever mean to me now that I was moving on and getting remarried. I just stared at her. I could not believe what I was hearing. This was not a family heirloom. This was not something that belonged to my husband before I knew him. This was made from my wedding ring. From the ring he put on my finger. From a ring we bought together in Ireland. It was mine. It was made from pieces of our life together. I did not know what to say. I told her I would think about it. I changed the subject. We finished our drinks but the whole mood had shifted. I left as soon as I could without being rude. The next day I told Qley what happened. I thought she would be on my side. Instead she said maybe Kenzie had a point. She said it was a little strange that I was still so attached to something from my old life when I was about to start a new one. She said maybe giving the necklace to Kenzie would help me fully move forward. She suggested I could buy a new necklace to wear instead. Something that represented my future with Tristan rather than my past. I tried to explain that it was not about being stuck in the past. I tried to explain that I could have both. I could honor what I lost and still build something new. But Qley just kept saying I should let go. She said holding on to things from past relationships only weighs you down. That hurt. Because my husband was not a past relationship. He did not break up with me. He did not cheat or leave. He died. There is a difference between ending a relationship and having it ripped away from you. Qley has always dealt with breakups by throwing away everything that reminds her of the person. Pictures, gifts, clothes, everything. That works for her. But this is not a breakup. This is grief. And grief does not have an expiration date. Now I am sitting here questioning myself. Kenzie already has other things that belong to my husband. She has his childhood baseball glove. She has some of his favorite shirts. She has photos and letters. So why does she want this specific thing? Why does she want the one piece I made for myself from my own wedding ring? And why does Qley think I should give it up? Am I wrong for wanting to keep it? Am I being selfish? I love Tristan. I am excited to marry him. But that does not mean I have to erase every trace of the life I had before. Does it? I have not responded to Kenzie yet. She texted me yesterday asking if I had thought about what she said. I did not answer. I do not know what to say. Tristan told me it is my decision and he will support whatever I choose. But I can tell even he is confused about why Kenzie would ask for something so personal. I just need to know if I am in the wrong here. Should I give Kenzie the necklace? Is she right that it means more to her than it does to me? Or am I allowed to keep this one piece of my past while still moving forward with my future? Update 1: I decided to meet with Kenzie face to face. I texted her and asked if we could talk in person. She agreed right away. We met at the same bar where this whole thing started. I got there first. I ordered water and waited. When Kenzie walked in she looked different somehow. Tense maybe. She sat down across from me and ordered a drink before either of us said anything. I started by asking her why she wanted the necklace. I tried to keep my voice calm. I told her I was confused because she already had other things that belonged to her brother. I asked what made this specific piece so important to her. She took a long drink before answering. Then she said her mom had been asking about it. I did not understand at first. I asked what she meant. Kenzie said her mother saw a photo of me on social media wearing the necklace. Apparently Kenzie had posted a picture from one of our dinners last year and I was in the background. Her mother recognized the emerald. I had no idea my former mother-in-law was even looking at Kenzie's social media. I thought she wanted nothing to do with me. But according to Kenzie, her mother had become fixated on the necklace. She asked Kenzie about it multiple times. She said the jewelry should be with family. She said I had no right to melt down her son's wedding ring. Kenzie admitted that asking for the necklace was not really her idea. Her mother had been pressuring her to get it back. She said her mom cried about it. She said her mom felt like I had destroyed something precious. I sat there trying to process this. The rings were mine. My ring was bought with money my husband and I saved together. His ring was bought the same way. The emerald ring was a gift to me. Nothing about those rings belonged to his mother. She had no claim to them. But apparently she disagreed. I asked Kenzie if she actually wanted the necklace herself or if she was just trying to make her mother happy. She did not answer right away. Finally she admitted she did not care about the necklace. She said she just wanted to stop her mother from crying about it. She said her mother had been bringing it up constantly for months. Every time they talked. Every family dinner. Her mother could not let it go. I told Kenzie I was not giving up the necklace. I said it as clearly as I could. I explained again that it was made from my wedding ring. From a ring my husband gave to me. It was not a family heirloom. It was not something that existed before me. I created it from pieces of my own marriage. Kenzie got defensive. She said I was being selfish. She said her mother lost a son and deserved to have something to remember him by. I pointed out that she had his entire childhood bedroom full of his things. She had photo albums and videos and his baseball trophies and his high school yearbooks. She had 1,000 things to remember him by. What she wanted was control. She wanted to take something from me because she could not accept that I had moved on. That was when Kenzie said something that made my blood run cold. She said her mother never thought I was good enough for her brother anyway. She said her mother always felt like I trapped him by getting pregnant in high school. Except I was never pregnant in high school. My husband and I did not even sleep together until we were both in college. We were careful. We waited. There was never a pregnancy. This was a complete fabrication. I asked Kenzie where that came from. She looked uncomfortable. She said her mother had mentioned it a few times over the years. I realized in that moment that my former mother-in-law had been rewriting history. She had invented this narrative where I was some kind of manipulator who trapped her son. Maybe it made it easier for her to cut me out of her life after he died. Maybe it made her feel better about abandoning me when I needed support. I do not know. I told Kenzie that none of that was true. I told her to ask anyone who knew us back then. Her brother and I dated for 6 years before we got married. There was no pregnancy. There was no trap. We were just two people who loved each other. Kenzie did not say anything. She just looked down at her drink. I asked her if she believed her mother's version of events. She said she did not know what to believe anymore. She said her mother had been talking about me differently ever since she saw the necklace photo. She said her mother claimed I was trying to profit off her son's memory by keeping the jewelry. Which made no sense because the necklace was not worth anything. The gold was recycled. The stones were small. It had sentimental value only. I stood up to leave. Kenzie grabbed my wrist and asked me to please just give her the necklace so her mother would stop. She said it would make everything easier. She said we could go back to having dinners and being in each other's lives if I just did this one thing. I pulled my wrist back. I told her that her mother had already pushed me out of their lives once. She cut contact with me after the trial because seeing me hurt too much. I understood that then. But now she wanted to reach back into my life and take something that was mine? No. I was not doing that. If Kenzie wanted a relationship with me, it could not be conditional on me giving up a piece of my own history. Kenzie started crying. She said she missed me. She said she missed having me as a sister. She said her mother had made everything so complicated. I told her I missed her too, but I was not sacrificing my boundaries to make her mother comfortable. I left the bar and walked to my car. My hands were shaking. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I felt steady enough to drive. When I got home, Tristan could tell something was wrong. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said he was proud of me for standing my ground. He also said he thought I should prepare for Kenzie to keep pushing. He was right. Over the next week, Kenzie texted me 4 times. Each message was some variation of asking me to reconsider. She sent me a long paragraph about how her mother was struggling with depression and having the necklace would help her healing process. She sent another message saying her mother wanted to turn the necklace into something new that she could wear. She sent a third message offering to pay me for it. I did not respond to any of them. Finally, she sent one more message. She said if I really cared about her brother's memory, I would do this for his family. She said keeping the necklace was selfish and cruel. She said I was holding on to the past and it was preventing everyone from moving forward. That message made me so upset I almost threw my phone across the room. I showed it to Tristan. He said I should block her number if she was going to keep harassing me. But I could not bring myself to do it. Despite everything, Kenzie was still someone I cared about. We had years of history. I did not want to just cut her off completely. Qley called me a few days after my meeting with Kenzie. She said she wanted to apologize. She said she had been thinking about what she told me and realized she was wrong. She said she had been projecting her own way of dealing with breakups onto my situation and that was not fair. She said grief from death is not the same as grief from a breakup and she should not have suggested I just get rid of the necklace. I appreciated the apology, but it still stung. Qley has been my best friend for over a decade. She was there for me when my husband died. She knows what I went through. The fact that she could suggest I just replace the necklace with something new showed me that maybe she did not fully understand what the necklace meant. Or maybe she did understand and she just thought I should be over it by now. I thanked her for apologizing. We talked for a while about other things. But something felt different between us. Like a small crack had formed that was not there before. I have not heard from Kenzie in 5 days now. I do not know if that means she has given up or if she is regrouping. Part of me hopes she has let it go. But I have a feeling this is not over. Update 2: Kenzie showed up at my apartment last week. I did not know she was coming. She just knocked on the door one evening while Tristan was at a work dinner. When I opened the door and saw her standing there, my first instinct was to close it again. But she looked terrible. Her eyes were red. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She was wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. She asked if she could come in. Against my better judgment, I let her. We sat in the living room. She did not say anything at first. She just sat there with her hands folded in her lap. Finally, I asked her what she wanted. She said her mother was in the hospital. My first thought was to ask what happened. But then Kenzie said her mother had not actually been admitted for a medical emergency. She had checked herself in for psychiatric care. Apparently the situation with the necklace had spiraled into something much bigger. Kenzie explained that after I refused to hand over the necklace, her mother became obsessed. She started talking about me constantly. She would bring me up at family dinners. She started going through old photo albums and removing any pictures that had me in them. She threw away Christmas ornaments that my husband and I had given them over the years. She cleared out an entire closet of things that reminded her of me. Her father tried to get her to stop. He told her she was taking things too far. But she would not listen. She started insisting that I had been a bad influence on her son. She claimed I had kept him from his family. She said I was manipulative and controlling. None of it was true, but she had convinced herself of this narrative. It came to a head 2 weeks ago when my former father-in-law finally told her she needed help. He said her obsession was unhealthy. He said she was rewriting history and turning me into a villain to avoid dealing with her grief. She did not take it well. She stopped eating. She stopped sleeping. She just sat in her son's old bedroom for hours staring at his things. Her husband called a crisis line. They recommended she check herself in for evaluation and treatment. She agreed to go, but only after making Kenzie promise to get the necklace while she was away. Kenzie said she came to my apartment because she did not know what else to do. She said she understood now that her mother's request was not rational. She said her mother had never properly processed her son's death. She had pushed me away after the funeral because seeing me was too painful, and then spent the last few years turning me into the enemy in her head so she would not have to face her guilt about abandoning me. I did not know what to say. Part of me felt bad for my former mother-in-law. She lost her child. That is a pain I cannot imagine. But part of me was also angry. She had treated me terribly. She had made up lies about me. She had tried to take something that was not hers. And now I was supposed to feel sorry for her? Kenzie said she was not asking for the necklace anymore. She said she just wanted me to know what was happening. She said she felt like I deserved to understand why her mother had been acting this way. It was not about the necklace itself. It was about control. It was about finding someone to blame for her son's death. The drunk driver was in prison, and that did not feel like enough. So she shifted her anger onto me. I asked Kenzie why she went along with it. Why she asked me for the necklace in the first place if she knew her mother was being irrational. She said she was scared. She said her mother's grief had become so heavy that the whole family was drowning in it. She thought if she could just get the necklace, it would fix things. It would make her mother happy and they could all move on. But that is not how grief works. You cannot fix it by taking something from someone else. You cannot heal by hurting someone. Kenzie started crying again. She said she was sorry. She said she should have stood up to her mother from the beginning. She said she should have protected me instead of trying to appease her mother. I sat there watching her cry, and I did not reach out to comfort her. I just let her sit with it. After a while she stopped crying and wiped her face. She said her father wanted to reach out to me. He wanted to apologize for how his wife had behaved and for how he had let it happen without intervening sooner. Kenzie asked if I would be willing to talk to him. I said I would think about it. Kenzie left a few minutes later. Before she walked out the door, she turned back and said one more thing. She said she missed the version of her mother that existed before her brother died. She said grief had turned her mother into someone she did not recognize. I told her I understood. Because I did. Grief changes people. Sometimes it changes them in ways they never come back from. I told Tristan everything when he got home that night. He asked if I wanted to talk to my former father-in-law. I said I did not know. Part of me wanted to hear what he had to say. Part of me thought it would not change anything. An apology does not undo years of being shut out and vilified. A few days later, my former father-in-law sent me an email. He said he was sorry for everything. He said he should have stepped in sooner. He said his wife's grief had made her lash out and he had failed to protect me from it. He said he never believed the things she said about me. He knew I had loved his son. He said I was always a good partner to him and a good member of their family. The email was kind. It was sincere. But it also made me sad. Because where was this support 4 years ago when I needed it? Where was this understanding when I was sitting alone at the trial? Where was this defense of my character when his wife was spreading lies about me? I have not responded to the email yet. I do not know if I will. Kenzie has texted me twice since she came to my apartment. Both messages were just checking in to see how I was doing. I responded briefly both times but did not engage beyond that. I do not trust this new version of our relationship. It feels fragile. Like one wrong move could shatter it completely. Final update: I met with my former father-in-law 3 weeks ago. He asked if we could have coffee. I agreed, but I picked a place close to my apartment so I could leave easily if I needed to. He looked older than I remembered. His hair had gone mostly gray. He had new lines around his eyes. We sat down and he ordered coffee for both of us. Then he said he wanted to explain what had been happening with his wife. He told me that after my husband died, his wife had refused to go to grief counseling. She said she did not need to talk to a stranger about her pain. She said no one could understand what she was going through. He tried to get her to go for months, but she refused every time. Eventually he stopped pushing. Over the years she became more isolated. She stopped seeing friends. She stopped going to family gatherings on his side. She spent most of her time at home rearranging my husband's old room or looking through photo albums. He said it was like she was frozen in the worst moment of her life and could not find a way out. When she saw the photo of me wearing the necklace, something snapped. He said she became convinced that I had stolen something from her. That I had taken a piece of her son and turned it into something for myself. No amount of explaining that the rings were mine to begin with made a difference. She could not hear it. He said he should have put his foot down earlier. He should have told her she was wrong. But he was scared. He was scared that if he pushed too hard she would break completely. So he let her spin her stories. He let her rewrite history. He thought if he just gave her time she would come around on her own. But she did not come around. She got worse. And by the time he realized how bad things had gotten, it felt too late to step in. He said he was sorry for not reaching out to me after the trial. He said he was sorry for letting his wife push me out of their lives. He said I had been a part of their family for 8 years and they should have fought to keep me in it even after my husband died. I listened to all of this without saying much. When he finished, I asked him what he expected from this conversation. Did he want forgiveness? Did he want me to go back to being part of their family? Did he want me to give his wife the necklace? He said he did not expect anything. He just wanted me to know the truth. He said his wife was still in treatment and would be for a while. He said the doctors were optimistic she would improve, but it would take time. He said he hoped one day she would be able to apologize to me herself, but he was not sure if that day would ever come. I told him I appreciated him telling me all of this. I told him I understood that grief makes people do irrational things. But I also told him that understanding something does not mean accepting it. His wife had hurt me. She had lied about me. She had tried to take something that was deeply personal. And he had let it happen. He nodded. He said he knew. He said he did not blame me for wanting distance from them. Then he said one more thing. He said my husband would have been proud of the way I had rebuilt my life. He said my husband always admired my strength. He said he knew his son would have wanted me to be happy. That was the part that made me tear up. Because hearing someone who knew my husband acknowledge that he would have wanted me to move forward meant something. It meant I was not betraying him by loving Tristan. It meant I was not wrong to keep living. I thanked him for saying that. We finished our coffee and said goodbye. I do not know if I will see him again. I think maybe that conversation was closure for both of us. A way to acknowledge what happened and then move forward separately. Kenzie has stopped texting me. I think she finally understood that our relationship could not go back to what it was. Too much had happened. Too many boundaries had been crossed. I wish her well, but I do not see us being close again. Goldie and I have slowly been rebuilding our friendship. She has been more careful about what she says. She asks more questions before giving advice. I think her apology was genuine and I think she learned something from this whole situation. Tristan and I set a wedding date. It will be next summer. Small ceremony. Just close friends and family. I will be wearing my necklace. I have not taken it off once through all of this and I never plan to. Some people have asked me if I regret keeping the necklace. If I think it would have been easier to just give it to Kenzie and avoid all this conflict. The answer is no. The necklace was never really about the jewelry itself. It was about standing up for myself. It was about refusing to let someone else dictate what I should keep and what I should let go of. My late husband was a part of my life. He will always be a part of who I am. That does not mean I am stuck in the past. It means I carry my past with me while I move forward. There is a difference. I am getting married next year to someone I love. I am building a life I am excited about. And I am doing it while wearing a necklace that reminds me of where I have been and what I have survived. That is not sad. That is not wrong. That is just the reality of being human. We are all made up of the things we have lost and the things we have found. And we get to decide what we carry with us. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My husband kept his phone password protected and I found out he was using a secret vault app. The truth behind his secret shocked me. I need to get this off my chest. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons. My husband Harrison, 32M, and I, 32F, have been married for 7 years, together for 9. We have 2 kids, ages 5 and 3. For the most part, our relationship has been good. We communicate well, share responsibilities at home, and genuinely enjoy spending time together. But lately, something has been bothering me. Over the past year, I noticed Harrison became extremely protective of his phone. He always keeps it in his pocket, never leaves it unattended, and has it locked with a password. This wasn't always the case. When we first got together, he was much more casual about his phone. He'd leave it on the coffee table, kitchen counter, or nightstand without a second thought. The change in behavior happened gradually, so I didn't think much of it at first. But the contrast between our habits became more obvious over time. I keep my phone unlocked around the house. Harrison frequently uses it when he needs to look something up, check the weather, use the calculator, or whatever else. I never gave it a second thought because I don't have anything to hide. But when I need to use his phone for something simple like looking up a recipe while my hands are messy from cooking, he insists on doing it for me rather than handing his phone over. He'll ask what I need to know, then look it up himself and tell me the information. Last Tuesday, things came to a head. Harrison and I were preparing for a dinner party with our friends Lisa and Mark. Harrison was busy making burgers, his hands covered in raw meat and seasonings. His phone chimed with a text message. Since his hands were occupied, he asked me to check if it was Lisa letting us know their ETA. I picked up his phone and he gave me his password, something that almost never happens. I unlocked it and opened his messages. The most recent text was indeed from Lisa, confirming they were about 15 minutes away. But what caught my eye was the message directly below Lisa's. It was from Harrison, sent to himself. The preview showed the words "new secure vault password" followed by 4 numbers. I quickly checked Lisa's message as requested, locked the phone, and set it down. While I was doing this, I noticed Harrison watching me with unusual tension, like he was waiting for me to hand the phone back as quickly as possible. That night after our friends left, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. After the kids were in bed, I grabbed my laptop and searched for Secure Vault. What I found made my stomach drop. Secure Vault is an app designed specifically for hiding texts, calls, photos, and videos. It has a special feature where you can set up 2 passwords, one that shows innocent content and another that reveals the hidden stuff. It's literally designed to help people hide things from others who might demand access to their phone. The next morning after Harrison left for work, I watched a tutorial video about how the app works. Every detail made me feel worse. The whole point of the app is secrecy. What could Harrison possibly need to hide from me, his wife of 7 years? I kept hoping it was just porn. Honestly, I wouldn't care if it was porn. We've never explicitly discussed our porn habits, but I've always assumed he watches it occasionally like most people. That would be such a relief compared to what I feared he might be hiding. This wasn't the first time I'd had doubts. About 8 months ago, Harrison asked me to wash his jacket before a work trip. As always, I checked the pockets before throwing it in the washer. Harrison is notorious for leaving tissues, receipts, and sometimes even cash in his pockets. In the inside pocket, I found a hotel key card. My heart started racing immediately. When I confronted him, showing him the key card with raised eyebrows, he seemed surprised. He explained that he had just bought a used SUV from his colleague Brad, and while cleaning it out, he found the hotel key in the side compartment. He said he put it in his pocket, intending to throw it away later but forgot about it. At the time, I was doubtful. My first thought was yeah, right. But after thinking about it, his explanation seemed plausible. Harrison's schedule is pretty predictable. He works at a software development company just 5 minutes from our house. He comes home for lunch almost every day. When he goes out with friends, they usually walk to the local pub from our house, and the group returns to our place afterward. When I'm out for girls' night or running errands, he's home with the kids. There just wasn't a window of opportunity for him to be sneaking off to hotels. But there was another incident about a year ago that still bothered me. Harrison has an ex-girlfriend, Vanessa, from college. They dated during a break in our relationship about 10 years ago. According to Harrison, Vanessa never quite got over him. She lives in Colorado now, we're in Texas, but she occasionally reaches out to Harrison through his old email account. I have the password to this account because that's where some of our utility bills are sent, and I handle the finances. One day while checking for a billing statement, I noticed several emails between Harrison and Vanessa. I clicked on them and read through their entire exchange. The conversation started innocently enough with how's life? But quickly turned uncomfortable. Vanessa wrote some nasty things about me, saying I trapped Harrison with my first pregnancy and that I'm manipulative. She expressed pity for Harrison and said she missed him. What bothered me most wasn't what she said, I don't care about the opinions of a woman I've never met. What bothered me was Harrison's response. While he did say that he loves me and our children, he didn't strongly defend me or correct her assumption that I'd trapped him with pregnancy. For the record, we were already living together and discussing marriage before I got pregnant. When I confronted Harrison about these emails, he apologized and promised to tell Vanessa to stop contacting him. The emails to that account stopped after that conversation. But now, with this secure vault discovery, I wondered if they were still communicating through other channels. Given the distance between Texas and Colorado, a physical affair seemed unlikely, but an emotional affair conducted through texts and photos was entirely possible. I spent the next few days trying to come up with alternative explanations for why Harrison might need secure vault. He's not particularly tech savvy beyond what his job requires. He doesn't have any sensitive documents that would need extra protection. He doesn't work for the government or handle classified information. His company provides work phones for any business-related communication, so he doesn't use his personal phone for work. Every time I eliminated a possible explanation, my suspicions grew stronger. but I hesitated to confront him. Not because I was afraid he'd get angry. Harrison has never been the type to lose his temper. I was more afraid of what I might find in the uncomfortable conversation that would follow. Part of me wanted to be told I was overreacting. That I was invading his privacy. That he had a perfectly innocent reason for using a secrecy app. Maybe it really was just for porn, and he was embarrassed about his preferences. For several days, I stewed on it, looking for an opportunity to check his phone while he was asleep or in the shower. But Harrison is a light sleeper who wakes at the slightest disturbance, and he takes his phone into the bathroom to play music during his morning routine. After reading comments online about similar situations, I became convinced that I had a right to know what my husband was hiding. Last Friday night, after the kids were asleep, Harrison and I were sitting on the couch watching TV. The question had been eating away at me all week. Finally, I turned to him and asked directly, "I know you have Secure Vault on your phone, and I want to know why, and I want to see what's in it." Harrison looked stunned by my question. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone and unlocked it. "Here," he said, "you can look at anything you want." What happened next was not at all what I expected. Harrison wasn't cheating on me, at least not that I could find any evidence of. The reason he had Secure Vault was something I never would have guessed. Harrison has Crohn's disease, which causes severe inflammation in his digestive tract. He was diagnosed 5 years ago and has tried various treatments with mixed success. 2 years ago, his doctor suggested he try medical marijuana, which is legal in our state with a prescription. The cannabis helps manage his pain and reduces inflammation during flare-ups. Here's where Secure Vault comes in. While medical marijuana is legal in our state, the laws around growing and distributing it are complicated. Harrison's supplier, who grows small batches specifically for medical patients, requested that all his clients use Secure Vault for communication. This allows the grower to remotely delete messages from clients' phones and eliminates the need for coded language. Even though Harrison's use is completely legal with his prescription, his supplier is cautious because growers can face severe penalties if they don't follow every regulation to the letter. The app provides an extra layer of protection for both parties. As for the self-sent password text, Harrison explained that Secure Vault doesn't resend forgotten passwords. He had recently updated his password and texted it to himself as a backup in case he forgot it. Since he wasn't trying to hide anything from me, he didn't think to delete the text. Harrison showed me the messages inside the app. There were only 2 contacts, his supplier and another person from the medical marijuana community who helps patients connect with growers. I know both of them personally, as we've attended cannabis advocacy events together. Harrison showed me the specific message where his supplier asked him to download the app. Regarding the hotel key, Harrison provided more details that made his original explanation more believable. The key wasn't visible in the car, he found it while thoroughly cleaning between the seat and the center console. Given his work schedule and our living situation, it really would be difficult for him to carry on a physical affair without me noticing. As for his general phone privacy, Harrison apologized for making me feel suspicious. He explained that his caution was primarily habit-formed from protecting his supplier's identity, not because he was hiding anything from me personally. He gave me full permission to look through his phone whenever I wanted in the future. Harrison uses both dispensaries and private growers for his medical marijuana. The dispensaries provide edibles and tinctures, while the private growers offer more affordable options with specific strains tailored to his symptoms. Finding reliable private growers is challenging since they don't advertise due to legal risks. I believe Harrison is being honest with me. Of course, absolute certainty is impossible in any relationship, but the evidence and explanation he provided makes sense. I love him, and I believe he loves me. I never explicitly accused him of cheating, I simply asked for an explanation for behavior that even he agreed looked suspicious. Harrison deserves credit for explaining everything clearly and showing me his phone without hesitation. I deserve credit for not immediately assuming the worst when I found the hotel key and for being willing to believe his explanation now. Looking back, I'm glad I never snooped through his phone without permission. Even when the opportunity might have presented itself, I'm not sure I would have gone through with it. Snooping feels like a violation of trust that goes against my values. I'm grateful I found the courage to ask directly instead. Sometimes the explanation for seemingly suspicious behavior isn't what you fear most. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone for the supportive comments on my original post. Many of you suggested I needed more proof before fully trusting Harrison's explanation. Others said his story checked out and I should let it go. I decided to keep my eyes open without actively looking for problems. The past 3 weeks have been relatively normal. Harrison has been more open with his phone, often leaving it on the coffee table or kitchen counter. He even suggested we share our phone passwords and location tracking just for safety. This seemed like a positive step. However, something happened yesterday that has me concerned again. Harrison and I were shopping at the mall when he got a phone call. He checked the screen, looked uncomfortable, and said he needed to take it outside for better reception. He was gone for nearly 15 minutes. When he returned, I asked who called. He hesitated before saying it was his mom asking about our plans for the upcoming holiday weekend. This struck me as odd because his mother usually texts rather than calls, and a call from her wouldn't require privacy or take that long. Later that evening, I casually mentioned I might call his mom to coordinate what dishes we should bring for the family gathering. Harrison seemed nervous and quickly said he'd already told her we'd bring his famous potato salad and my apple pie. This morning, curiosity got the better of me. While Harrison was in the shower, I checked our phone bill online. The call he received at the mall wasn't from his mother's number. It was from a number I didn't recognize with an area code from Colorado, where Vanessa lives. My stomach dropped. I saved the number and later used a reverse lookup service to search it. The number belongs to a V. Mitchell. Vanessa's last name is Mitchell. I haven't confronted Harrison yet. I'm trying to gather my thoughts and decide how to approach this. His explanation about Secure Vault and the medical marijuana seemed genuine and verifiable. I've met his supplier and seen their communications. But this phone call is harder to explain away. Adding to my concerns, Harrison has been working late twice this week, something unusual for him. He said they're launching a new project at work that requires extra hours. When he came home those nights, he seemed distracted and spent more time than usual on his phone. I checked our shared location app discreetly and confirmed he was at his office during those late hours. But that doesn't rule out emotional cheating or inappropriate communications. Last night, I had a dream that Harrison was packing his bags to move to Colorado. I woke up with my heart racing and couldn't fall back asleep. The uncertainty is affecting my sleep and concentration. Part of me wants to confront him immediately about the phone call, but another part wants more information first. I don't want to accuse him of something without solid evidence, especially after our recent resolution regarding the Secure Vault situation. This morning, I did something I'm not proud of. While Harrison was making breakfast for the kids, his phone chimed with a text notification. It was face down on the counter, but I could see the screen light up. Without thinking, I glanced at it and saw a message preview from VM saying "Can't wait to see you next." The rest of the message wasn't visible without unlocking the phone. Harrison quickly picked it up, read the message, and put the phone in his pocket without responding. During breakfast, Harrison mentioned he might need to attend a work conference in Denver next month. Denver, Colorado. Where Vanessa lives. This can't be a coincidence. I casually asked more about the conference, dates, which colleagues would attend, the hotel they'd stay at. He provided answers that sounded rehearsed, and he wouldn't look me in the eye. Before leaving for work, Harrison kissed me goodbye and said he'd be home late again tonight due to the project deadline. He also mentioned his phone might be off for parts of the day because of meetings. After he left, I called his office on the pretense of needing to drop off something he forgot. The receptionist told me Harrison had taken a personal day today. He lied about going to work. I immediately checked our location sharing app, which showed him at a coffee shop across town. Who meets at a coffee shop at 9 a.m. on a workday? My mind is spinning with possibilities, none of them good. I texted Harrison asking how his day was going, and he responded that meetings were going well and he'd tell me about the project progress tonight. Another lie. I'm sitting at home now, trying to decide what to do next. Should I drive to the coffee shop? Should I wait and confront him tonight? Should I contact Vanessa directly? The trust I thought we had rebuilt is crumbling. The Secure Vault explanation suddenly seems less convincing in light of these new developments. Was it all an elaborate cover story? Did he show me selected messages in the app while hiding others? Is he actually using it to communicate with Vanessa? I feel like I'm back at square one, but with even more reasons to be suspicious. Harrison's behavior follows a pattern I've seen described in articles about cheating. Increased privacy around communications, unexplained absences, inconsistent stories, and defensive reactions to innocent questions. I've decided to wait until tonight. When he comes home, I'll calmly ask him where he was today and give him a chance to be honest. How he responds will determine my next steps. I'll update again after our conversation. Update 2: The situation has taken an unexpected turn, and I need to process what happened. When Harrison came home the night of my last update, I was prepared for a confrontation. I had rehearsed what I would say, trying to stay calm and give him a chance to explain. But before I could say anything, Harrison announced he needed to talk to me about something important. He sat me down and took a deep breath. "I haven't been completely honest with you lately," he began. My heart sank. Here it was, the confession I'd been dreading. What followed wasn't what I expected. Harrison explained that his Crohn's disease had been getting worse over the past month. His doctor had suggested they try a new, experimental treatment program available in Denver. Harrison had been in touch with a specialist there named Dr. Victoria Myers, VM, in his contacts. He pulled out his phone and showed me their text exchanges and emails about the treatment protocol. He had been hesitant to tell me because he didn't want me to worry, especially since the treatment was not guaranteed to work and would require him to spend 2 weeks in Denver for the initial phase. The call at the mall was from Dr. Myers' office confirming his eligibility for the program. He stepped outside because he didn't want to discuss his medical condition in the crowded mall and didn't want me to overhear and worry before he had all the details. When I asked about his lie regarding work, he explained that he had indeed taken a personal day to meet with a patient support group at the coffee shop, people with Crohn's who had undergone similar treatments. He wanted to hear about their experiences before making a final decision. He apologized for the deception, saying he thought he was protecting me from unnecessary worry. He had planned to tell me everything once he had gathered all the information. I was flooded with relief but also frustration. "Why couldn't you just tell me from the beginning?" I asked. Harrison explained that when his symptoms first worsened, he tried to handle it himself, hoping it was temporary. When that failed, he contacted his doctor, who referred him to the specialist in Denver. By the time he realized he'd need to travel for treatment, he had already created a web of small lies to hide his deteriorating health. I reminded him that we're partners, his health concerns are mine too. He promised to be more transparent going forward. But there was still one thing bothering me. What about Vanessa? Is she involved in this at all? Harrison looked genuinely confused. Vanessa? My ex from college? What does she have to do with anything? I explained my suspicions about the Colorado connection and the VM contact. Harrison showed me Dr. Meyer's full contact information and her professional website. She is indeed a specialist in experimental treatments for inflammatory bowel diseases in Denver. As for Vanessa, Harrison checked his social media and showed me that she had moved from Colorado to Seattle last year for a job opportunity. The Colorado connection was purely coincidental. I felt silly for jumping to conclusions, but Harrison admitted my suspicions were reasonable given his secretive behavior. He agreed that hiding health issues wasn't fair to me or our relationship. We spent the evening discussing the details of the treatment program. It has a 70% success rate for reducing Crohn's symptoms long-term, but requires intensive initial treatment followed by monthly checkups for 6 months. After that, he would only need to return to Denver every 6 months if the treatment proves effective. The financial aspect is challenging but manageable with our insurance. The bigger challenge will be managing the household and kids while he's away for 2 weeks. I called my mother yesterday, and she agreed to come stay with us during Harrison's treatment to help with the children. Harrison's first trip to Denver is scheduled for next month. While I'm relieved that my fears about infidelity were unfounded, I'm concerned about Harrison's health and his tendency to hide problems to protect me. We've agreed to work on our communication going forward. This experience has taught me that suspicion can sometimes lead us down the wrong path. The Secure Vault app was indeed for medical marijuana as Harrison claimed. The mysterious calls and meetings were about his health, not an affair. However, Harrison understands now that secrets between spouses, even those meant to protect, can damage trust. He's promised to include me in all future medical decisions and to be open about his symptoms and treatments. I'm scheduling appointments with potential support resources for when Harrison is away. Between my mother, friends, and possibly a part-time babysitter, we should be able to maintain our normal routine for the kids. While I'm worried about Harrison's health, I'm grateful that what I thought was relationship trouble turned out to be something we can face together. Update 3. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have evolved. Harrison completed his 2-week treatment in Denver last month. The process was difficult for him physically, but the medical team was optimistic about the results. He returned home exhausted but hopeful. We won't know the full effectiveness of the treatment for another month or 2, but his daily symptoms have already shown some improvement. During his time in Denver, we video called every evening so he could see the kids and tell them good night. My mother was a tremendous help with childcare, cooking, and keeping our household running. I don't know how I would have managed without her. One unexpected outcome of this situation was a complete reset of our communication patterns. Before Harrison left for Denver, we had several deep conversations about transparency and trust. We both acknowledged that we had fallen into habits that weren't serving our relationship well. I admitted that I sometimes jumped to conclusions based on incomplete information. Harrison acknowledged that his instinct to handle problems alone and protect me from worries was actually creating more problems than it solved. We established new guidelines for our relationship. Health issues, no matter how minor, are shared immediately. Phone privacy is respected, but passwords are known to both of us for emergencies. If something seems off, we ask directly rather than letting suspicions fester. These guidelines were tested shortly after Harrison returned from Denver. I noticed he was spending more time on Secure Vault again, and my old suspicions briefly resurfaced. Instead of worrying silently, I asked him directly what he was doing. He showed me that he was researching growing his own cannabis plants for medical use, which would be legal with his prescription. His supplier was helping him learn the basics through the Secure app, since written growing instructions could potentially be problematic if misinterpreted by authorities. The difference this time was that I asked immediately instead of letting my imagination run wild, and Harrison shared the information without hesitation or defensiveness. Last week, Harrison had a follow-up virtual appointment with Dr. Myers. The initial test results are promising. Inflammation markers are down 40% from his pre-treatment levels. If this trend continues, he might only need to visit Denver twice a year for maintenance treatments rather than monthly. On the relationship front, things between us have improved significantly. The forced separation during his treatment reminded us both how much we value our partnership. The health scare put my previous suspicions into perspective. There are more important things to worry about than misinterpreted text messages. That said, I'm glad I paid attention to the changes in Harrison's behavior, even if my conclusions were wrong. His health might have deteriorated further if I hadn't pushed him to be honest about what was happening. As for the Secure Vault app, Harrison still uses it for communication with his supplier, but it's no longer a source of tension between us. He's even shown me how to use it in case I ever need to contact his supplier during a severe flare-up when he's unable to do so himself. We've become more involved in advocacy for medical marijuana patients and are considering starting a support group for families affected by Crohn's disease in our area. Harrison's experience has shown us how important it is for patients to have access to all effective treatment options without stigma or legal complications. To those who followed my story from the beginning, thank you for your support and advice. Marriage isn't always easy, and trust can be fragile. But sometimes what looks like a betrayal is actually something else entirely. I've learned to ask questions before making assumptions, and Harrison has learned that sharing burdens makes them lighter. We're facing his health challenges together, which is how it should have been from the start.